Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about some podcasting stuff, audio specifically, and how to edit it. I do a very basic setup for audio when it comes to podcasts. What I will say is that this is the way that I do it. I'm sure I'm not doing everything correctly, but it seems to work out for me. I look forward to your comments later on. With that being said, we're going to go ahead in and start doing some editing. This is the previous episode of Mixdown Master, so we're going to play just this little clip that I've highlighted up at the top with a loop. The way I would do that is I would go ahead and I would mix that sound down. And right now it's just a bit too quiet to be released onto YouTube, and that's where this is going to go. So what we're going to do first and foremost is I normally go in, right-click, and click the Normalize Audio button. That'll bring it up to what Studio One considers to be a necessary level of loudness. I'm going to go ahead and actually undo that one on mine, though, because I did that already. So the next thing I would do is go into my mix console. So after normalization, I would find the track that is the voice. On this one, it is track 01. And my voice, on this one, I always put a channel strip. And now that our channel strip is activated, we're going to go ahead and play the clip a few times. I tend to work with presets. And then adjust the presets to my liking as I go on. It just kind of gives me a real fast, quick way to get an idea of what I'm listening for. And once I find something that I'm satisfied with, I might adjust a few of the parameters and then just kind of let it go. So that's what I'm going to do right now. It is currently default. And then I would rename that with what I and I'll go through the vocal presets, mainly the mailbox 1. I'm gonna rate it as like baseline, mailbox 2, helicopter. And I like mailbox 1 better on this, so let's listen in a few seconds more. And then we'll mute that one and then go into our original track again and see if we can't find another fun sound to go through. And we're just going to keep doing this all day and just have some fun with it. See what you can create. See, and just go ahead and mess around with a handful of the EQs that you might think that your voice needs. Typically, I don't need as much load. And then I'll rename that with what I kind of think it sounds like. So I'm not going to rate it as baseline X trim. I'm going to rate it as like baseline helicopter. Okay, and now that I've got a satisfactory channel strip, I'm going to go ahead and add another plugin to that, which is a gate. And the gate, I have a default that I use, but for this instance, we won't use that. For now, we're just going to worry about doing the threshold. These two are fine where they are. Well, I might raise that attack up to 10 milliseconds, maybe lower the hold to maybe 20 milliseconds. Leave the release where it is, and then I'm just gonna, I know my voice typically comes in right around here, so let's start it there. And that blue line that you're seeing is the sound that is being made and the dBs that it is at that time. And then we'll mute that one and then go into our original track again and see if we can't find another fun sound to go through. And we're just going to keep doing this all day and just have some fun with it. See what you can create. See, we're going to save that. So there we go. Okay, so this is the gate that I'm going to decide to keep. Everybody's voice, everybody's background noise is going to be different. That's what this gate is for. It is to reduce the background noise, maybe too much of the heavy breathing, and so on and so forth. Just some minor adjustments on it. Threshold is going to change the dBs that it activates on. and the reduction range is how much it will reduce the sound that is on the opposite end, that blue line that we were talking about previously. So once that's all set up and good to go, which I believe it is, we also have a track for music, which is not currently on the loop, which is right around here. What happens if we turn it all the way up? There we go. And since they're both on that part, I'll just go ahead and stretch over the loop so that it is on top of the music and the voice. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and sync this one to our tempo down at the bottom. And we're going to go ahead and lower down the sound. Actually, we should probably put that back at 0 dB and see how it sounds there too. All right, I can hear that. All right. What happens if we turn it all the way up? There we go. All right, let's go ahead and sync this. The goal is to try to get them even, which I typically do -5 for my sounds that have been mixed or mastered or exported. And then for the voice, I typically leave it either at 0 or I might raise it a little bit. The point is to try to get them both to sound kind of even. All right, I can hear that. All right. What happens if we turn it all the way up? There we go. All right, let's go ahead and sync this one to our tempo down at the bottom. And that sounds okay to me. So once we've got these two set, I don't do a whole lot for the podcasting stuff. Just quick down and dirty. And then now we're going to go over to our insert and we're going to find a limiter. And for now, the limiter is going to be threshold should actually, ceiling. I want to be -3 because that is where I typically put the podcast, and then -6 for the threshold, just to give it a little bit of area. The threshold is when it's going to kick in. The ceiling is as far as it can go before it practically brick walls, which is the way that I do this. So for right now, this is what it's going to look like. And then we're going to go into the post. And I do believe this is the first time we've done anything on the post. We're going to add a level meter. And I like to shrink down my level meter to look a lot like that. And the level meter is going to be on the EBU R128. And then we're going to click the little LUFS button. And our goal is to try to get this podcast somewhere between, I personally like to have it in between, somewhere between 15 and 17, -15, -17 LUFS. But somewhere in between -15 and -20 should do you just fine. And then you can go back and compare that with other videos that you watch on a regular basis and judge whether you need yours louder or quieter. So for me, I like to keep it in between, somewhere in between -15 and -17. So we're going to pull that level meter up and we're going to click the little pin so it stays there. And we're going to bring our limiter up. And then I'm going to hit the play button. And right now we're only at about -25. So we're going to have to raise that up a little bit. Let's try to flip it. And you can tell that it is starting to get louder. Whoa. And every now and then I hit the reset button just because. There you go. I like that. See what you can create. See, now we're going at about -15, -16, 17 this time. All right, I can hear that. All right. What happens if we turn it all the way up? There we go. All right, let's go ahead and sync this one to our tempo down at the bottom. All right, and it's sitting right around that, just the end of 17. And right off the end of -16, -17, so I'm good with that. And that would be it. That would be what I would do for the editing. Once I go ahead and export this, there is something I typically do a little different. So I'll go to the export mixdown section, and you would want to name it to know that what you're doing is properly named. I do export mine as WAV 16-bit 44.1 hertz. And I do also use between song start and end markers. The loudness thing, here, it works sometimes, but I have noticed that it's typically just quieter than everybody else's videos if I use this. So I tend to do it on my own instead of relying on the loudness meter from here. You can try it by all means. Maybe it works for you and you're happy with it, and that's all good. For me, I prefer not to. The main difference that I do on this screen, however, is I uncheck the Use Real-Time Processing button. And that is because podcasts typically are a lot longer than a 3 or 4 minute song. And I really don't want to sit around for an hour trying to wait for the podcast to get done processing. So I do uncheck the real-time processing, and then I would hit OK. And then it would export just like every other file in Studio One. You can go find it. And then you can either use it as an audio podcast on something like Spotify, or if you're opting to do a video podcast instead of an audio podcast, you will be able to take this mixed down version of your audio and sync it and line it up in your video editing software later on. So both options are useful. That's the way I use it. I record the audio and the video separately, and then I combine them later on. So, yeah, that's going to do it for me today. I will see you all next week. Please like, share, and subscribe.